UK lockdown, week 12!
I'm locked down till I die, I'm locked down till I die, I know I am, I'm sure I am, I'm locked down till I die. Hey!
So, week 12, UK lockdown. Just another quiet week.
If only.
2020 is nuts. We're only in the first 6 months and already we've had bushfires in Australia, a pandemic throughout the world, racial equality marches going on throughout the world. I have no idea what the next 6 months is going to hold, but I'm going to be sitting right here bringing everything to you. Now, for those of us here in the UK, we have been in lockdown for 12 long weeks. The government announced this week that we will now be able to create support bubbles from one household to another, allowing people to finally see family members and loved ones they haven't seen for 12 long weeks. This means that many couples who weren't brave enough to isolate together at the start of this can now finally see each other. The news of these support bubbles has been greatly welcomed. In fact, we have some footage of some early support bubbles taking place right now. With the argument that's still going on with the school system and the government as to whether we should send children back to school, the idea of support bubbles is also being trialled here. Now, week 12 also saw many more marches for the Black Lives Matter movement across the UK and around the world. And significantly, we have started to see real change, physical change, in the form of protesters pulling down statues, starting with the 17th century slave trader Sir Edward Colston, whose statue was pulled down in Bristol at the weekend and thrown into the water.
Boo! Down you go!
Now, it wasn't only Edward Colston's statue that got taken down this week. Oh no, it was also former heroes like Sir Christopher Columbus and King Leopold, who, as I say, were once held up as heroes, but now the torch has been shone on them to show their actual horrific and genocidal history that followed these guys. The racial equality demonstrations going on across the UK are now forcing people to re-look at their history and see who we're holding up as icons.
I'm like so woke.
Now, of course, for every action, there's a reaction, and this weekend was no different. In London, we saw protesters gather to protect Winston Churchill's statue and other war monuments around the capital. Now, among the groups gathering in the capital this weekend were not only Britain First, but also the Football Lads Alliance, who you may have seen offering their services to defend your statues. But of course, they would like to have lunch and a lavatory included.
This guy got caught short. I think he's taking the piss, mate!
Now, unfortunately, this weekend's protests, which were meant to be peaceful, have actually seen 6 police officers ended up injured, and even the PM has called this racist thuggery.
Naughty boys.
Now, here at Lockdown News, we like to be unbiased and walk that central line, so we thought we'd catch up with one of the protesters to find out what it's all about.
What's happening, right? I don't agree with it, mate. Statues. It's all over, mate. Yeah, the racism's coming back, mate, because of the fucking BH.
Well, that clears that up then.
Now, while we've all been distracted by fighting for racial equality, surviving Corona, the government have passed through a food legislation bill to lower the standards on our food. Understandably, as we're getting closer to the Brexit deal finalisation and we're slowly coming out of the EU, the UK are looking to supply other food chains to feed us hungry Brits. Now, the UK currently has some of the highest food standards in the world, protecting both you and I. But should this bill pass through, we will be susceptible to US foods which have a lower food standard. You could be eating chicken that's been washed in chlorine, or eating meat or vegetables that have been hyped up with hormones or genetically modified.
I'll have that to go away, please.
Now, with Brits being in lockdown for 12 solid weeks and being unable to shop and spend as we would do normally, it's having a huge effect on our economy. And as a result of this, Boris is now under huge amounts of pressure to reopen restaurants and, most importantly, pubs and bars.
beer! All hail to the ale! And welcome to wine for the day.
Hooray! I'll drink to that.
Well, that was week 12, UK lockdown. Join me if you can for next week, UK lockdown, week 13!
I'm locked down till I die. I'm locked down till I die. I know I am. I'm sure I am. I'm locked down till I die. Hey.